Hello, everyone. This is Darla here with the Art of Learning Self-Love. I'm just getting started. Our topic today, though, for this session is worthy of love. And are you feeling worthy of love? Where are you in that? So I wrote some stuff this morning in regards to this, and I think it's just really important and imperative that we sort of talk about that. But the first thing I wanted to do was have everyone think about those words. I am worthy. And I want you to check in with yourself and where you're at with those words. And if you can, type in the comments. If not, that's okay. Or verbally, you can unmute yourself and go ahead and just express yourself as well. While we're waiting for a couple people, we can go ahead and get started with that. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Dr. Janet.
Okay, I was typing. I was saying, I believe I'm worthy of love. I believe that we're all worthy of love. And as we continue to manifest these connections together and these sharings, that's more validation of our worthiness. So I do feel worthy of love.
Perfect. I'm going to go with Lori Mershon. So the question is for you to check in with yourself with the words, I am worthy, and ask yourself how those really fit and set with you. How does that make you feel when you say that to yourself?
Are you talking to me, Darla?
Yes, Lori.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I was going to stay off video because I'm in between yoga classes, but I didn't feel like it was good for me to answer from the dark. That's difficult for me, for that to land anywhere. Sometimes it goes, it kind of skips my heart and goes into my mind. You know what I mean? Like where I start thinking about reasons why that would be true rather than just really letting it settle in my being. So, and I have noticed, that's definitely a challenge because it changes the way that I walk around the world. When it moves me towards I have to be something in order to be worthy rather than just am something. So that's where...
That is such a beautiful point that you just made. And the reason why I'm asking this is here in just a minute, it'll really uncover what's going on that. And that is something that when we first begin our journey into the personal growth and development, working on ourselves, doing the things that we need to do for us, most of us do not connect with I'm worthy. We're all like, oh, no, and we have this dialogue that's going on upstairs that's making us think all of these things that we've heard over and over again. So I'm going to go to Jane real quick and ask her, how do those words fit with you? Do they set good or?
They do, in that in and of myself, I feel worthy to be loved. I think what gets in the way, and I really like what Lori was saying, that there's a little bit of a disconnect because I feel that my world, or certain people in my world, will be judgmental, and so it's I don't know, it just there's that unrest of, and I can tell myself, well, hey, that's just maybe their vibe, their thing, and so on. But and it has more to do with like personal relationships, like family relationships. You know, we all think, oh, well, you know, family should be as close, as close, as close. And it's like, well, yes, in some instances, yes. And then I do have some friends that I feel closer with than my own family, right? So there's that, there's a little bit of a disconnect. And I think with things like Thanksgiving and Christmas coming on board, you know, it's more mindful about that theme of it's like, are we really, you know, patting each other on the back and say, good for you. Let me hear about you, you know, instead of lip service or, you know, yakety yak. It's like, I guess maybe I'm talking about two different things. Maybe I'm talking about how I might plug into somebody else's world and knowing that it's not congruent with mine. They don't maybe like themselves as much, so you can't get from someone what they don't have to give, right?
Exactly. And that is the reason why I teach the art of learning self-love, is because we cannot give what we do not have. And the art of learning self-love is all about that, coming inward and beginning to fill ourselves. So the question with the couple that have just recently jumped on board is, how does it feel? How does it fit for you when you say, I am worthy? So I just want you to stop for a second, whatever you're doing, and actually ask yourself and tell, you know, say, I am worthy. Just state that statement and then feel how you feel when you say it to yourself. And then, you know, if you can, just jump on and let me know. And I'm going to go with Kat, and then I'll go with Maud.
She said, stop what you're doing. I am worthy. I think I'm trying to believe it, you know, honestly. I mean, I don't really have anything that makes me think that I'm not worthy, but I think it's just believing it. Or maybe I need a reason why I am, you know, worthy, or I don't know, you know, like,
Exactly. And see, this is the point of why I do the on the spot question like that, because now you're really getting an understanding of where it sets with you. Is it a question?
mhm.
Did it run up, like Lori says, from her heart to her mind where she had stuff going on? Was it in regards to how do other people respond? And am I feeling the worthiness because of the reactions of other people around me, as Jane was saying? Because others have you know, a reflective component to them as well, and they're going to reflect what's on the inside of them as well. So if we're trying to stand in that space of worthiness and someone else is coming in and completely treating us differently, we may not feel so worthy in that moment. So there's a lot of dynamics that work along that.
I think that's why I've always been so defensive, because I've always had this mentality that I'm worthy of what I say I'm worthy of. You know, like, I mean, I don't know. I was just, you know, like, even as a little kid, what I was always noticing is the hypocrisy in adults, the do as I say, you know, but not as I do. And,
Right.
you know, it makes, you know, like, that made me angry as a kid, and it makes me angry as an adult. It makes me angry, you know, even in my family. Like, I look at so many family members, I'm like, you're so full of shit. We're so full of shit, you know. And and like, you know, all the I'm old, right? I'm 42 and I have a 4-year-old. So they all had their kids young. And I'm like, y'all did exactly what our parents did. You didn't have a clue what you were doing. And now our kids are all turning out the same as us. And it's like, nobody wants to be accountable for that. Nobody wants to own up to that. And pisses me off, you know,
Right.
because, like, hello, these kids are feeling the exact same way that we're feeling. And I just think it's cowardly at this point, you know, with just everything that's kind of come out in the world and everything that's going on. I just think it's kind of cowardly. Like, it's getting undeniable that, you know, there's some things that we need to be standing up and taking accountability for. And
Well,
it's
having our
just
own
time.
ownership, that is part of, not everybody is always in that space or coming into that space now,
Well, it's
so
even just
we're
the
all on different.
defensiveness of everyone else too. That like everybody's thinks you're out to. I mean, no, everybody's so defensive. Like you can say what's up to somebody, and they're like, "Oh my God, she said what's up to me in this way," and you're just like, "Oh my God, I really like. I don't have ulterior motives behind what I'm doing. I'm not like out to get
But
people."
how
And
does this part right here, how do you wrap that into the worthiness? Or is that off topic?
I mean, I think that, I'm always telling people that though. It's like you're worthy of what you say you're worthy of. If you're, it's just like, just be honest, be authentic at this point, like why we are all running around so long, like acting like we don't need help, acting like we're not hurting, acting like we're not, all going through the same thing. And
Right.
it's not that, healers or we just we're talking about it. We're just recognizing it and talking about it. And I think that's where we're all kind of feeling slighted is it's like, stop telling me I'm not worthy because I am. If you're not okay with me, that's your problem, not mine.
Exactly.
And it's just hard to stop caring about that because we do care. We care, and that's why we're talking about it. And we spend our whole lives pretending like we don't care, and it's just kind of like to me, it's just an old paradigm that needs to die. It needs to just, man, everybody would just start being like, right?
Right. So I want to
what
make sure
is
that
it?
I want to make sure that Maud has a moment also to express from her space. So Maud, the question is for you to feel into, I want you to feel into yourself when you state, I am worthy, and how those words make you feel. So I put everyone on the spot, not just you.
I
Can you
think
hear me?
she didn't.
I can now, yes.
Okay, I switched to my phone so that I can be heard, but I can't be seen, so sorry.
That's okay.
Well, when you say it and I repeat that, I cringe inside. Because I don't feel worthy of shit.
So
And I don't know why that's the case, honestly, because I know that I'm killing it. I'm making all my dreams come true. So I should feel like I'm worth something, but there's just an emptiness there.
So the reason why today's class is all wrapped around the words worthy of love. Love is where the worthiness starts. When you love yourself, when you can come into that place and begin identifying the things that you need for yourself, it actually opens the door for you to start realizing your self-worth. Self-worth is hard to come to when we have been through a lot of things that have us broken down. So what I wrote today, I want to share. Well, first off, I want everyone to know, I wrote it in the comments as well if you want to look it up. What I did was I have an affirmation of the day. So for this whole week, I want you guys to take this affirmation and use it as often as you can. The affirmation is, I am worthy of the love I desire to have, and I choose to give it freely. So there's a two-part fold to worthiness. If I feel worthy, I'm going to treat others like they're worthy. But if I don't feel worthy, I'm not going to be able to give that to someone else. So it starts within ourselves. Worth, love, desires, choices, and freedom are some of the topics that we're going to talk about today in this class. They're all really great words just in themselves. I mean, how many can, just by a show of hands, would love to have that freedom to be able to do as they want, when they want, how they want to do it? You know, have the resources at the tips of your fingers and just do whenever you need to. If you want to support something overseas, you can jump in there and do what you need to do. Or if you want to just go visit your friend, and you can jump on that phone and set your flight and take off to another town. You know, like I'm doing today. I'm off in another state doing what I'm doing. You know, just get in and go. We want to get to that freedom, that space where we can just do and not be so worried and hung up in the details. Because once we get to that freedom, but how do we get there? There's a process. Well, one, we got to learn our worth. We got to learn how to begin loving ourselves first so that we can actually tell others how to love us. Then we've got to come into finding those desires and figuring out what our heart's really calling us to. And then coming to that place where we're actually finalizing and actually taking the flight and doing what we need to do in our life and having the fun and living that freedom life that we all want. Freedom is truly a choice. It's making a decision and standing in it, knowing that if you're supposed to do it, everything's going to flow into it. If you're not, it won't make it. There's a reason. There's always a reason behind the no. If you find yourself coming against the no, it may be something that's blocked off inside your mind because of other people's belief systems that got deposited into you as you were growing. It could have come from reoccurring situations and circumstances in your life that made you feel less than worthy of what you really deserve. But there are so many different components. So I am worthy. And as I had you all do at the beginning of class is just state those words and see how it felt. When I used to say I am worthy, I didn't feel I was worthy. I wasn't, in a place to feel that for a long time in my life. But when I started this journey for myself in the art of learning self-love, I finally discovered that worthiness was so important because I was just as equally worthy as I would give to another. I had just the same equal right to it. And that was the part for me I had to climb over to get into that place and go, oh, okay, I deserve that too. How do I deserve that? Well, we're born to it. We're born to an abundance. We're born to a right of worthiness, and that we're all in that state of living, hopefully, for our best. But sometimes we don't know what the best is. And how do we begin learning it and identifying it? So when, like I was saying, when you guys put on those words for a minute, do you believe what you said? Do you believe that you're worthy? And you can just put raise your hand or, make a comment or type it in the comments, either way. Or are you guys like so many others in the world that are conflicted with those thoughts? Yes, Lori.
When I think about belief, I don't believe it. But when I say I don't believe it, I don't have sadness around it when I say it. It's almost like it's just this space that something is supposed to be there, but I'm not really sure. I don't have a point of reference, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Yes, that really does.
It's like if I could remember how it felt, and maybe I've had the experience, but I'm not identifying it as well. I might be just kind of qualifying it like with the doing. It's like, because I tend to lean, it's like, well, what do I do that would make me worthy? That sort of thing.
Okay,
so
worthiness, here we go. This is perfect because I have that too. Worthy. Having or showing the qualities or abilities that merit recognition in a specific way. Everyone at some point has done something somewhere in their life that warranted a merit of recognition. And it may have been small, it may have been large. It doesn't matter what it is. Everyone has had something somewhere where they received a merit of recognition. For myself, one of the first things I had Dr. Frances Mayo. She was a psychiatrist that worked out of Arizona that I knew. And one of the things when I got an opportunity to work alongside her, she asked me one day to really realize that I had things that I could be recognized for. Because I was so humble. She was like, no, you did something somewhere along the way. And it took me a long time because I had to sit with it. And that was what she wanted me to do. She said, I want you to sit with it until you remember something that you were recognized for. And it doesn't matter what it is, but you had a moment somewhere. It may have been in school. It may have been right out of college. It could have been at a job, working and doing great in stellar performance on a job. It could have been writing some kind of report. It could have been something. Everyone has something different. Like myself, when I finally came back to it, I realized that I had been recognized as one of the top players in the symphony and was able to play with the Phoenix Symphony for 2 years in a row in a first chair when I played viola. And I was like, it had been so many years though, because I was well into my late 30s at the time when this question came to me, and I hadn't done that since I was in junior high. So it had been so long that I had gone without an acknowledgement that I wasn't aware that I had any anymore. We all have something that shows that we're worthy. It can be just in the interactions between each other, but it can also be the things that we do. Maybe it's just what we do each and every day. And sometimes that can make it feel like we're not worthy anymore because we're doing it so often. You know, there are different levels to all of it, no matter where we're at. Everything has layers. Everything. And so being that worthiness is coming from a space of recognition in a specific way. You know, I want everyone to just go around real quick, and I'm going to call on somebody and just tell me the first thing you think of that you know you got recognized for. So I'm going to start with Maud.
Being a great president for the social committee at my job.
Awesome. Kat. Okay, I'm going to go with Lori.
Well, I say I guess I've been recognized for my work with my nutrition clients, you know, where they have their life has noticeably improved after, you know, their assessment and following the program that I gave them. So I would say that.
That is awesome. When you know that you're giving people life, that's a huge recognition.
Well, as you were talking, when you said the definition, having or showing something that is worthy of merit, what came to me is like, when have I improved someone else's life in some way? So that's what came to mind for me.
Perfect. See, now you have something when you hear that word. You can go back to that feel-good place of knowing how you have enriched another person's life, and that can continue to build that worthiness. So you just keep revisiting it, and every time you find that new place, you add it to it. because now you can recognize it within yourself. I'm going to come to you.
Yes.
Ms. Janet, Dr. Janet.
When I think of that worthiness and recognition, I have tried to turn it around, like I have certifications, I have awards, those are all external to me. And, I've intentionally attempted to let go of the external and what am I worthy of internally. So though for the context of this course, this time that we're together, if we're looking at it from external recognition, first thing that came to my mind was being a mother, raising my kids. And at one point I was the leader in the state of Arizona for bringing homeschooling and generating policies on homeschooling and at the Capitol. So, I worked.
That is an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah. And
so heartfelt.
Yeah, and kind of being on that cutting edge of trend setting in education, I'll say. So, if I look at external, there's a lot, and yet internally, I think that's where we have to get to that place of, irregardless of the external, I am worthy internally just for being, not for doing.
Right.
So the difference between I be or I have or I do, I am this great person because of everything I've done or of all that I have in my life, which is kind of what a little bit what I'll talk about tomorrow. That distinction between the be, have, and the do, and the have, do, and be, and all that. And it's just a perception change. Where are we coming from? What are we choosing to look at?
Okay. What I love what you pointed out, though, is it's not just about the doing. It's about the being.
Yeah.
That part is so important of understanding our worthiness. It's the fact that we were just born. We're worthy because we're born. We're worthy because we are.
It's true. And I have had times in my life where it was like everything felt like it crumbled and it was shattered and stripped away and there was nothing left but me. And I think of Viktor Frankl in the concentration, where the man's search for meaning, everything is taken away, yet we have our internal sense of love and worthiness.
That is beautiful. Thank you for that. That was a beautiful contribution to the class. I appreciate it.
Now I feel worthy. Because
exactly.
I can do it. Yeah. Thank you.
And Ms. Jane.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It took me the longest time to think of as a kid. It's like, gee, worthy when I was a child. What could I look at and say, again, it's back to the doing, right? And I thought, God, I wasn't outstanding in anything that anyone else wasn't, except for the fact that I took dance classes from the time I was 6 up until I was really in my 40s, and I taught dance. But as a kid, I would do on stage, in front of a couple hundred people. I would do a solo tap dance and sing.
Oh, awesome.
And it's like, yeah, but it makes me laugh because it kind of gave me that unbeknownst to me, that was the beginning of my sales career.
Oh,
you
that's
know,
so funny.
it really is funny. It's so subsequently it's like, okay, so then when I was adult, okay, being a mortgage advisor for many, many years, having the wherewithal to do that and do it on commissions. Okay, that's great. And then now as a full-time astrologer, the last 10 years of my life, I help people. But the thing that the thing within is I owe it to myself to educate myself, take that education, know what my wounds are, heal them, feel whole, and then just go out into the world. That's worthiness to me, is fixing me.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
See, and that goes right along with where when I was asking the question, do you believe what you said, and then are you like so many who are conflicted with those thoughts? Do you want to resist the thought? That's another point. Or what feeds the pain point of that thought? So sometimes because we feel unworthy because of our circumstances around us, the behaviors that we've been enduring that we shouldn't be enduring, can sometimes literally cause us to feel unworthy because of the circumstances that sometimes others who have toxic traits that dump down into people's lives. There's a lot that goes along behind that. So you got to recognize your pain points too and be able to start bringing that to the surface. So our worth is not based off of our situations or our experiences. It's based off of who we choose to be. And that is a big leap because most people are like, oh, it has to go with what we've done or what we've been through, which I can show through the definition in itself. But the truth really lies in the fact that it's really based off of what we choose. So if we get up and decide, I don't want to feel unworthy anymore, I want to feel worthy, we can then begin creating that choice and making that a fact. So what I wanted to share is literally what you choose. I can either choose to believe the things others have told me, or I can come into the alignment with the fact that from the foundations of creation, I was made whole and complete. So I don't have to look outside of myself. The truth is I'm whole and complete already, regardless of how many circumstances I went through. Doesn't matter if there was 10,000 circumstances, you're still whole and complete. You just happen to have a lot of fragmented thoughts that are all over the place and probably need some help to pull them back together. And that's okay. And that's what, the purpose of what I'm teaching, why it's important for us to feel the worthy of love. Most of us have suffered so many situations that made us feel less than who we truly are. And I don't know, I can honestly say if I picked anybody on here, somebody could tell me a point where they felt less than worthy. But we don't have to talk about those things. That's the nice part. If we can get to a place where we can actually say, yeah, I can relate, but I don't have to visit it anymore. And that's when you come through some real healing, when you don't have to visit it anymore. You're definitely in the right place if you're looking to find out how to begin loving yourself and finding yourself worthy of love. Being in the art of learning self-love, this is where you're going to begin discovering who you really are, what we really want, as well as uncovering the issues that hold us back from for all the things that we're meant to be. Love begins within, not from without. It truly begins with you and with me. It starts inside. It's an inner work. We have been taught to look for love from everywhere else, outside sources. Oh, if I get my perfect relationship, I'm going to be loved. Oh, I need to go find my spouse. Oh, mom and dad are going to love me forever. What? forever isn't always guaranteed. So what happens in those moments when we come against those things that really hit us in our heart? When we're having to face circumstances and loss. We haven't built our own love and we're dependent on somebody else to give us that love, we may fall apart in the midst of situations. And that's the part where I realized, oh, I have so much to give to the world. I know how to bounce back. That bounce back is important. But I had to learn it for myself. I had to teach myself these things. And that's why I do what I do now. I could ask others to meet me and my needs, even though I find people who would like to, and they have the best interest in mind. However, they may not be able to meet me because I don't even know what I need yet. So how can we expect somebody else to meet our needs if we don't know what they are? That's the purpose of learning love for yourself. Because then you can identify those things. You can say, oh, I do need encouragement. Or no, I need physical touch. I need those gifts. Or I need that act of service. Hold on, I don't have I have normally something pinned where I can read it real quick, and I don't today because I'm not at home. But the 5 love languages are touch, quality time, acts of service, gifts, and physical touch. So,
It's the recognition and task, doing things.
What was
You
that?
said touch. You said touch twice. I think the other one that you missed was the, doing service.
Service, gifts, physical touch, encouraging words, and quality time. That's it.
Quality time.
That's the last one, the quality time. However, they could not meet me because I did not know what I wanted. Many times over, I spent time failing relationship after relationship, not because there wasn't love, because in the beginning there was, but I was accepting a love that was not meant for me because I had not identified all the details to myself yet to know what I needed. So I was fighting relationships, trying to figure it out along the way. And that's what most of us have all done many times over, and find ourselves in the ruins of all of these things and go, what in the world was I doing? Well, it was because I didn't know me. And then when I figured out that, I was like, oh, if I can help people identify what it is that they really want and what they really need within themselves, and they know how to actually bring it to a place where they can articulate it to their significant other, the next part of that is if that significant other does not know how to honor that, then maybe you're not meeting with the right individual for you. Because the person that you're really looking for is going to automatically, without fail, meet those things that you need. So, for instance, I can use for an example I'll use, for example, my past relationship. I asked my significant other over and over again to build me with encouraging words because I spend so much time encouraging the world around me that that's something that I require. And I know that I need that. I need that lift all the time for somebody to come along and repeat or remind me or send a little note down the way or have a little card somewhere so that there's those encouraging words for me to see. I will keep and hang up cards from people because those were affirming words that made me feel better. So for myself, I knew that was a necessity and I needed quality time. I needed to know that there was going to be time set down just to be with me. Not having to worry about work, not having to worry about going, not having to worry about doing, but just being together and having a quiet dinner, doing something nice, whatever. That quality time was something really important to me. So, but I didn't know that for a long time. I was just always saying, why can't you love me? And they were asking me, well, what do you need? And I was like, just love me. Well, what does that mean? They didn't know. I couldn't know. So they couldn't meet that need. It left me feeling void and vacant of what I required. But when I sat back and I finally began the steps to learning the stuff myself, I started realizing and uncovering who I really was. And out of that, I was able to tell others. And when I realized the actions could not be met from the other side, I realized that the problem wasn't that individual. The problem was I was in a relationship that was not equal to what I was requiring. As everyone has their own individual requirements. So there is a significant person out there for each and every person, no matter where you're at on the spectrum. If you're at the beginning of trying to figure out relations, if you've struggled and stumbled through it your whole life, or if you've literally sat at a point where you're like, okay, I think I got this now, I'm ready to enter in a relationship. No matter what stage of it you're in, you can begin identifying what you need so that you can share that with the other individual. Because then it's no longer anybody really doing harm to the other. It's literally the others just not knowing how to meet you because it's not in their makeup of who they are. So it's really not an offense, but it feels like it. It can so feel like it when they just are not built to give us what we need. And what we need needs to be met. We are the most important person in our life. And most of the time, we shove ourselves off onto the back burner and hope that somebody's going to meet our need because we're meeting everybody else's. That was twisted and taught to us the wrong way. And we got to turn it back around now and figure it out and go, wait a minute. I come first because if I take care of me, I have enough of me to give to others. So, Kat, I see that your hand up.
I was reading this book, and one of the things that she said in there was that, none of us learned how to be our own sense of our own love, our own sense of support, our own sense of self. And so we all rely on each other for that. And I think that's, where I want to be is where I don't need that outside of myself, that I'm completely reliant on me. And then I think, is that bad? Does that mean you're a cold person? But I don't know. I've just gotten to a point where I feel like I make a lot of excuses, for my own self, and I rely on a lot of people when I should rely on myself. So I'm always going back and forth, between community and working together and, for the greater good of all, and just relying on myself, and then it's just wow, another thing to have to find that balance in, it's man, I just want to be balanced already.
It's an every day, all the time, several times a day thing. We all have to do it, hon. We all have to do it. Even me. You should have seen me in the frazzle just before the call, trying to get this set up in a new space. It's not my home. It's not my space. We all have moments. We all do. But getting back onto what I was saying in regards to where I spent many times failing myself and others in relationships, I was begging others to just love me. But what was it that I needed? This took some serious time to develop. I can say that it all worked out beautifully. I've found my dream career. I've located my perfect partner. And most importantly, I have me. I actually enjoy my own company. I sat on a flight for 4 hours today and enjoyed the time on the flight because I could enjoy my thoughts. I could enjoy my time with me. And that is huge. I get it. Bye, Lori. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for coming. You know, I had finally found and was actually enjoying my own company. It was a real process to identify all the details of who I am, what I needed, and finally accepting that what I wanted was just as important as everyone else's wants. We're easily and eagerly ready to make sure other people's wants and needs are met. We should be doing that for ourselves first. Because when our needs are met, then we're not literally sitting there in the scarcity of our life. We want to be thriving. So what I desired most was to be able to connect with those who are like-minded, to build a successful business that allows me to travel all over the world, teaching others how to love themselves. And here I am doing just that. That was my biggest dream. And now I do it every day. I can't wait to see the new dreams that I come up with because I now have space to do it because I made it to where I wanted it to be. I will be honest, there were choices I had to make, no lie. Some of those choices were really difficult to make because it required me to walk away from people and places that were not going where I was headed to. But the freedom to live my highest good required me to make those decisions. And I'm grateful I made them all because it's opened the doors to a life full of adventure. Connections that will last forever, plus an understanding of who I am, what I want, and the fail-proof plan to get me to where I want to go next. What is the importance of falling in love with yourself first? It is the perfect way to be able to love another. You cannot love another until you love yourself. See, God, Source, the universe, he didn't have time to make a nobody. There was only time to make a somebody. So you see, you certainly are worthy and certainly are that somebody. We're all born with the same truth. What is that truth? We are whole and complete from the foundations of creation. What we think about, we bring about. What we speak comes to life. I remember the day when I went from waking from my dreams to realizing the purpose for me was to wake to my dreams and live them fully. I live life intentionally now, fully, on purpose. I go to bed setting my intention for the next day. And when I arise, I affirm those intentions, and before I know it, I spend the time in gratitudes so everything is able to begin flowing right into place. The money shows up right on time every time. Love is a meeting place between two souls. Connections just exchange the energy. Freedom is living for your best life, whatever that means to you. And most important part, that you're worthy of it all, each and every one of you. And the art of learning self-love is here to unlock your blocks, clear your auric field, cleanse your chakras, free flow through the fountain healing, design a blueprint to you, begin a journey of discovering how to begin developing skills for loving yourself first. Because why? You are worthy. I know we're down at the end of the hour. And if anyone's got to go, I understand. Thank you for being here today.